welcome back to my channel, everybody. I'm having a bit of a cozy crafternoon. Is that a term that we can use? A crafternoon. Now, I do have a project to share with you. I would still class myself as a Cricut newbie, but I bought myself the knife cutting tool, or the knife blade, because I wanted to cut some wood. Now, I cut no, it wasn't chipboard. What did I cut? Hang on, I have some here. Here's some of my scrap. What? It's like thick cardboard, is it? I haven't braved the wood yet. I think I am going to order some. Is it balsa wood? Balsa wood. I don't know, but I am going to try it. So like a lot of people, I go down Cricut rabbit holes on the likes of Instagram, and I see all these videos, and I can fall into the habit of watching instead of making. And I got inspired by, is it Genevieve? I'll put her Instagram name here. She made these cloud lights, and I was like, that's really cute. I'd love to make them for my niece and nephew, but they're a bit older. I think the cloud lights might be a bit, not that they're older, but I was like, I want to do something personalized. So I thought that would be a great project, just to tinker around with playing with my tools. I am also delighted to team up with Cricut on this video because they have a campaign at the moment, and it's to take time on your own, hashtag TOYO. And I was reading a post, I'll link to it, where Katie Piper was talking about different things you can do to have time on your own. So with a lot of restrictions lifting, obviously depending where you are, things are finally starting to take motion here in Ireland. And so the goal is to try and keep up and maintain, not all, but some of the things that we were doing throughout lockdown that was good for the owl head. So the likes of crafting, or if you got into like gardening, if you got into sewing, if you were baking. I wasn't a good baker. Lockdown baking wasn't for me. So I think it's just trying to maintain a balance, because I know for myself, before lockdown, I was obviously overworking, which I have mentioned in like previous videos, and crafting was to get a YouTube video out. So one of the things I want to maintain is things like today, where I can experiment with making something and there's no kind of end pressure. Obviously I'm sharing it with you now, but just having those moments where you can just get into the creative flow. You know, when it's flowing, when you forget to like stop for your lunch, or time just speeds, that's when you're in that flow. So anyway, I'm going to get into the project that I have, which is a DIY personalized light up sign, and I use the offset setting in the design space to make this. I put some lights on it. I think it's really cute. I can't wait to give it for my niece and nephew. They actually, at the moment, they have bunk beds. They're 3 and 4. Soon to be 4 and 5, and I think it'll look cute in the room, and the font that I use is quite funky, so they'll get a long time out of it. It's not gonna date. I think it'll age well. Anyway, here is my product. So I'm in the Design Space app, and I'm just typing the name Lily, and I've popped the font on the screen there, and I'm using the offset feature, and I'm going to cut 2 items. I'm going to cut the cardboard base, and then I'm going to cut the vinyl that lays on top. So you're going to have 2 mats for this project. Make sure to tell your Cricut what it is cutting. So I changed my setting so that it would be cutting the chipboard option, and I went for the 1.5mm option. And now it's time to get my mat ready. Now, I am using the wrong mat because I have learned that there are different mats, and this is a light grip mat that I'm using, which is perfect for cardstock and vinyl, but not for what I'm doing. So use the green mat. Don't use the one I'm using because you'll wreck it. I did wreck mine, but I've learnt my lesson that there is different mats for different things. So I've loaded up my machine with the knife blade, and I made sure to tape down the chipboard so that it wouldn't move. You also have to move the white little rings, so those white stoppers, if you just move them to one side when you are cutting the likes of leather and the likes of wood and things like that. Just bear in mind that when you're cutting thicker fabrics that they do take longer, so this took about 10 minutes to cut, so compared to vinyl it does take a little bit longer, but it's totally worth it. I decided to paint my chipboard, so I'm just using some white paint that I have in my paint stash, and I gave 2 coats. Just make sure it's fully dry before you apply your vinyl, because you don't want any paint lifting off with the transfer tape. While I was waiting for this to dry, I cut out the vinyl, so this will be the initials for Lily's name. So I went for like a purple sparkly kind of vinyl. Well, not sparkly, there's like a sheen to it. And I'm just going to weed it all out before I place it onto the chipboard. Just be careful when lifting off the transfer tape because you may lift off some of the paint, but don't worry if you do because you can just touch it up with a little brush afterwards. So now it's time to light this up. In my local hardware store, I came across these LED strip lights. They're like 1 meter, you get them in different sizes. I think they were 10 euros or 11 euros. So I stuck them on the back. Now, I didn't stick them on perfectly. You can cut them to size, but I wanted to get the whole strip on, so it was hard to kind of maneuver them. So I've stuck them down, and once they're stuck, they are quite sticky. And I glue gunned the battery pack to the back, and then I added a little wire hook so that I could hang it on the wall. And then I also made one of these for my nephew. Now his is slightly smaller. It's not favoritism, it's just how it turned out when I was printing it. But I love the look and the effect that I got from making these. I wanted to share how to make a bookmark, and I'm using the faux leather from Cricut. And the great thing about the faux leather is you don't need to have a knife cutting blade, so you can use your regular fine point blade to cut this fabric. It's not that thick. So if you want to make the likes of like a faux leather purse or like a wallet or a pouch, you could do this and you don't need to buy the knife blade. So in the Design Space app, if you just search for bookmarks, I'm using the one that was already in Design Space. The only thing I changed was the fabrics that I used, and I used some gold vinyl. Make sure you hit mirror, so you need to mirror the image for the iron-on vinyl so that it will go on the right way. I have made that mistake before. And I am going to be using the cutest mini iron I have ever seen. This will also be super handy for sewing. Can you imagine doing hems with this? So I have pop iron on, but just be careful with the faux leather because you don't want to melt it. So I probably should have just had a little bit of cotton fabric around the areas that I wasn't ironing. But once you iron it on, you can peel off the sticky paper on top and pop on a little tassel. I didn't have any fancier tassels in my crafting kit, so I just used what I had. I hope you got some inspiration. I always say, like, take the idea and make it your own. So whether you change up, you know, styles, fonts, textures, materials, you could totally do that with a thicker piece of wood. I'm going to experiment a bit more with the knife blade tool. I do have some leather, and I have an embossing, is that what it's called? An embossing tip that you stick in. See, I need to get better with my phrases. I call the things the wrong things, so I'm better off just showing you what they are. But if you are new to the Cricut community, I highly recommend, but be careful, just going on the likes of, you know, Instagram and Pinterest, TikTok as well. I don't have TikTok on my phone, I don't have a TikTok account, but my friend Karen sends me loads of videos. I just don't have an account because I'd waste so much time, and I think it's good to take the inspiration, watch the videos. There's so, like, the Cricut community, whoa, there's so many videos and inspiration, but do try and pull yourself out to actually make it. So I find I go down the rabbit hole of watching, I'm like, ooh, I could make that, I could do that, and I need to actually pause and go, okay, well, go and do it. So I think that's what my Crafternoon was all about. I needed to see if I could make it for myself. Anyway, that is my chats for today. If you are new to Cricut, I do have a video where I unbox the maker. I use the maker, but there's also the Joy. Now you can't cut heavy materials on the likes of the Joy, and then there's also the Cricut Explore Air 2, which is like middle of the range, but I have a video that goes through each of those, and I also have a blog post as well. So if it's something that you're kind of tinkering with, I'll pin the blog post in the comments, and I'll put that video in the description as well. I would love to hear what you found useful getting you through lockdown, whether it was, you know, gardening, yoga, meditation, crafting, reading books, writing books, anything. I'd love to hear. Do share in the comments below, and let me know if you are able to kind of plan time to maintain it. I suppose a half an hour maybe every day, or maybe have like a session once a week. But I think planning it into the diary is always a good thing because you're committing to it. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, and what has gotten you through, and what are you leaving behind, and what are you bringing forward as we navigate through this time. Anyway, that is me for this week, and I will see you all in the next video.